Hi folks, it's Newt, an assistant here at IE Gallery in Edison, Washington. I'm back with another walkthrough video of our current show. For the month of March, we have TROIKA, which is a group of 3 women artists, and this show is entitled Head, Body, Legs. We can get into that theme here in a few moments, but I'll just give you a quick tour of the room. The 3 artists in this show are Julie Paschkis, Margaret Chodos-Irvine, and Deborah Mersky. The 3 of them have been working together creatively in some sense since around 1992. Each of these artists are successful independent artists in their own right, but as friends come together and find new inspiration in working with each other. So like I mentioned before, the title of the show is Head, Body, Legs, which refers to a drawing game that these 3 women have played together. You as the viewer have probably also played this game. It kind of functions like an exquisite corpse. So you'll take a sheet of paper, if you can imagine as I'm walking around the room here. Imagine taking a sheet of paper, folding it into thirds, and beginning to draw a figure. One person draws the head, you fold the sheet of paper over to the next side, and the second person draws the body. They fold it over, and the last person draws the legs. And then unfurling that sheet of paper, you get a completely new being, a new creature that is completely unique to not only the 3 individuals who drew it, but unique as a whole. So with that theme in mind, each of these 3 artists took on head, body, or legs. So as I'm just walking around the room here, giving you a quick overview, we can get into the specific themes here. You'll notice these paper puppets, you could say. These are great examples of that sort of exquisite corpse idea. Each of the artists would start with one head and then mail it off to the next person in the rotation, and the next person would create either the legs or the body. There were only a handful of these puppets in the show, and there are 2 more, one of which is facing outside in our window. And those pieces are really the only truly collaborative pieces in this show, and the rest are individual. We can begin here with Deborah Mersky's Found Objects. She titles these Souls 1 and Souls 2. So she found these soles of old shoes as well as the rocks and arranged them like so. So you could probably guess that Deborah's theme was the legs. Let's see, we can go back here and take a look at some of Deborah's other work that she contributed to this show. Interpreting that theme on her own, each of the pieces that she included for this show deal with the idea of maps, and using the time walking or wandering, whether that be metaphorical or literal, finding yourself along a path, facing choices, and remembering the choices made when walking down that path. These bronzes are also Deborah's. And another great example of those maps are these embroidered pieces using found handkerchief, thread, and in some cases, watercolor. The threads sort of mark a path that one may have taken or will take, using your legs to guide you. And we can work our way up into the body. You'll notice these hanging textile pieces, these sweaters. These are done by
Margaret Chodos-Irvine. This particular piece is one of the entwined pieces. These are knitted with cotton twine. The continuous parts of the arms connect. It's a sort of a reminder of, for Margaret anyway, she mentioned in her talk that it reminded her of the pas de deux in the Swan Lake Ballet. It's another example of seeing kind of domestic materials. I think of the handkerchiefs, the tablecloth, cotton twine, which you often find in the kitchen. The second piece of this series, of the Entwine series, is a pear. And the third piece is a single entwined. They're beautiful. This one I love. It almost has a straitjacket quality to it, and yet it's so lovely homespun looking. Now we'll go on to her risographs.
These risographs are Margaret's as well, speaking to the female body, the relationship between, in some cases, mother and child, or adult self versus child self, inner self versus outward self, as represented by the dress form here. And we have a ton of these prints. These are risograph prints. If you're unfamiliar with a risograph, it's a machine that's sort of a cross between a screen printing a screen printing machine and a copy machine. So it's sort of mass producing the print, but each of these layers uses a different screen and a different set of ink. And we can come back around to Julie's work, which creates the top of that form, the head. Julie's work is kind of spread around the room. We can begin here with her paper lanterns. Julie's interpretation of the head theme was to create these female heads, or these womanly heads, each one named after a woman in her life. Someone inspiring or strong or motivational, someone who helped to form who Julie is as an artist and a woman. Each of these paper lanterns are part of Julie's signature style. If you're familiar with her work, the pinpoints through the paper, the folding and the brackets, all methods that you may have seen in her work before. These pieces she refers to as scrolls, and the faces that you'll see around the rest of the room she refers to as jug heads. These scrolls are on linen, and she created paper stencils that she laid over the linen and used ink to produce their shadow. And gouache is typically used over the top of everything. Pardon me for running around the room so erratically. I'm just trying to show them in a cohesive order. 3 more of her jughead scrolls. Again, each named after a woman in her life. And finally, we'll go back around the room to these heads, which are made of paper, and the frames are expertly crafted out of cardboard and then spray painted. And the final piece to this show is a card game. Essentially a take-home reusable version of the game Head, Body, Legs. It's a pack of cards where each artist has designed, I believe, 8 heads, bodies, and legs. And here you can see where visitors to the gallery have created their own beings. But the idea, of course, is to move things around and create your own. We'll give one last overview of the curation as a whole. This show is up until the end of March. The last day is March 30th. And if you were not able to catch the artist talk with us on March 2nd, no worries. We will not be having another artist talk for this show, but we do plan on having more artist talks in the future. Thank you so much for checking out the show. Hopefully you're able to make it before it expires. But if not, you know where to find us. We're always happy to pull out work from previous shows if you're making the trip. Thank you so much. Have a happy spring.